Hello, it's Miss Heather, piano and voice teacher here at Conservatory of the Ozarks. Today I'm here with
Miss Allyssa.
Miss Allyssa is an apprentice piano and voice instructor here at the Conservatory. She's currently getting certified in level 1 piano, and today she's going to learn about music for Little Mozarts piano books. And she's finishing up her music degree at Missouri State University. She's in her senior year. So, this is the Music for Little Mozart starter pack, and we start kids in this 7 or younger, depending. So the older books, maybe around 4 or 5 and older, they can go in. So there's a overlap where that's why we have the placement audition, because you just can't really tell with some kids just based on their age where they're going to fall. So this is the first thing we'll talk about. This is the assignment journal, and it's totally different than the assignment journal that we use with the Hal Leonard books. I really love these assignment journals. So I usually fill out my information just like in a normal one and have parents and students fill in their information. That way they're able to get a hold of you. This is some helpful stuff to read through. It explains what to do with everything. But you have at the top where you write the day of the week, the date, and the time for today's lesson. And this is lesson number 1, which that's like my favorite thing. I love that you number the lessons, because this is the only music journal that I've seen that makes you do that. And then you kind of can track, like, okay, this 4-year-old finished level 1 in 50 lessons. That's really good. Or, wow, this 6-year-old is still in level 1 after 100 lessons. So you can kind of gauge how age and talent and practicing at home, how those factors all come together to determine a student's progress. You can really nail it down when you see exactly how many lessons they've had. Not how many months they've been a student, but how many lessons they've actually attended. So then you also put over here, next week's lesson, number 2, will be on, and hopefully it's the same day of the week and same time, but then you put the different date. And this is really useful because sometimes, like, maybe Christmas break is next week, so you'll put the next actual date, and I'll maybe write here, no lessons next week due to spring break or whatever. And then there's a spot for each book where you put lesson book pages, whatever. And these would be new pages or pages that have not been passed yet. They don't have a sticker on them. And then down here you would put review pages. So these are songs that have been passed. They have a sticker on them, but you're still sort of in the unit, so they need to keep reviewing those pieces for now. And then the workbook, those would be pages that they need to fill out with, pencils or crayons, not songs to play. I never have something to review for the workbook, because to me either the workbook page is done or it's not done. So I write here if they have pages to do, and if not, then I don't write anything. And I usually cross out the review and put either the note speller book pages or the coloring book pages or flashcards in that review category. Discovery book. So the discovery book and the lesson book are the 2 that come with a CD. So both of those, I'll put the page number, and then a lot of times over here I'll put CD number 4 and 5. So they have the page number and they have the CD track. And same thing with the lesson book. New ones, review ones. And then over here, like, all right, quarter notes or quarter rest or whatever the new concept is, high and low. Or if we reviewed several concepts that we've been working on, I'll maybe like bullet point and put, we did high, low, up, down, fast, slow, like whatever things we reviewed, for the parent to see, and also for myself, because I know always in a lesson, I feel like I'm totally going to remember everything we did next week. How could I possibly forget what we're doing? But when the next week comes and you've taught like however many lessons between, I'm always like, what do we do? I have no idea. Have you had a lesson before? I'm not sure. So the more detailed notes, the better documented the lessons are, the better it is for the parents if they are the kind of parents that help their children practice at home. And if they're not, then it's better for you, which is good because if the parents aren't helping at home, then it's all on you. So Discovery Book, I do usually have review ones. I have them review the Listen and Sings all the way to the end of the book. And then other, so this is another place where you can write extra things like note speller, coloring book, flashcards, or like the Christmas book, the pop book, the church book. And sometimes I write extra things down here too if they have like maybe a special recital song that's from a supplement book, not from the starter kit or something like that. Then here, this is really important to always give your student a practice goal. So my daily practice in minutes. So for Little Mozart students, especially when they're first starting out, I usually write here 3 days of 15 minutes. And I tell the parent, you know, that's our goal. Just a few short sessions throughout the week. If you just can review what we did in the lesson like just a few times between, it will make such a big difference. It'll be fresher in the student's mind, and it will be best if the practices did not happen on the same day as the lesson. For most kids, because some parents, I think, not judging, just that's kind of how it goes. I know I did the same thing when I was taking lessons. It's like you don't practice, you don't practice, you don't practice, and then, oh, it's a day of a lesson and I haven't practiced. So then you make the kid practice for like 30 minutes. So they've practiced, so you can say they've practiced, and then they come to the lesson and like they're not interested in doing anything for the lesson because they just went over all of it like 20 minutes ago right before they drove over. And I mean, that's not the best. I think once they're a little older, it's really good to do it the day of the lesson because you don't want to play like your difficult piece for the first time in your lesson not having warmed up beforehand. But sometimes when they're really little, which is, those are the people who are in these books usually, they can only handle so much. That does vary a lot from child to child, but then down here, these are places where you can write helpful notes. So there are 4 boxes: well prepared, followed instruction, participated creatively, and things that need work. So I try to fill these in at pretty much every lesson. You know, and it's nice that 3 of them are for praise. It's so easy to just be picky and be like, your hand shape wasn't rounded, your beat wasn't steady, like just say all the things that were bad. But this reminds me, oh yeah, like they did so many things right. Like notice all the little things that they did right and make note of it, because that means a lot to parents. It's so easy to just be like, this was wrong and that was wrong and all these things were bad and it needs to be better. And it's maybe true, but like, they were really respectful for the whole lesson. They remembered how to sit with a tall back for the whole lesson. Like if they didn't sit up straight, you would notice that. So if they do it right, like notice it and say something about it. Instead of just ignoring the good things and only noticing the bad things. That's not so nice. And I think the more specific these compliments can be, the better, because then they really mean something. Like if you just say, good job, like that doesn't really mean anything. But if you're like, you know, I have to tell you, I noticed you had your feet flat for the entire song. And do you know what a lot of students do? And then I'll show them. They sit with their feet like this, all with their ankles crossed. And then I have to yell at them because they did it wrong. And then I'll be like, did I have to yell at you because you didn't have your feet flat? And they'll be like, no. You didn't have to. And I'm like, I know, because you did a good job. So just noticing all the little things they did right. And then you can put things that need work. Like a lot of times if they aren't good practicers, or maybe it's just they're really little or it's hard or whatever, I might write out here again, and then I'll write today's date and I'll be like, we'll do these same songs again this week, and maybe write down here, great start, but we just need to practice these songs with the accompaniment tracks like one more week because she could play them, but they weren't really up to tempo with the performance tracks yet. So just keep practicing on them. And I use a different color pen for each week. So that way, if I decide to do that, I have a different color pen here, and I can see which comments were from which week. And then I'll use the new pen for the new week and write a check mark, check mark, check mark by each thing we went over. So that way I know, oh, we didn't do flashcards last week, so probably want to make time to do that today. Or we spent like half the time on the discovery book last week, but we didn't look at the workbook at all, and those pages might have been completed, or so. And then the next week I can see a second check mark, like, okay, so we went over those, and then we were able to move on and fill out the new page. And then over here, I don't use these every week, but I actually do have a few like wonderful parents who will write me notes here in the parents comments section, which is so great. And they'll be like, we worked on this and this and this, or she was struggling with this at home, or we practiced for 4 days for 20 minutes each day, or whatever it is. Just little insights to kind of help me know what's happening at home. And then I sometimes will write things here, like if I need more space than what's provided over here. And then you can use these, of course, once you get to black keys, white keys, or notes on the staff. So you can just have them practice circling the 2 black keys or 3 black keys, writing notes on the staff. And it's the same every week, over and over and over again. And there, I think, are 50 lessons included in this book, so it should last, like an average student should take about a year to get through these, and the book should last about the right amount of time. I actually just had a student who finished, and she perfectly, which this is so typical of her, it doesn't surprise me at all, because she's very like particular. She ended the whole level of books right on the last page of the assignment journal. So then in the very back we have my favorite pieces, and this is kind of a neat thing where we can be like, I loved the elephant dance, or I loved Do Not Sneeze. And so you can write down like, that was one of her favorite songs. And then here we can track all the performances in recitals, whether it's with a group or a solo. So you could put the name of the song, the date, and January studio recital. And I recently have purchased a photo printer so I can put a little picture from the recital, and it's so cute. And I mean, I think it makes the student feel special that you're like documenting their little milestones, and it means a lot to parents too. And like, I still have my music journal, you know, when I was taking lessons with Mr. Archer. So, I think that's so cool. Him and my teachers from college, it's so cool to go back and like read their handwriting and be like, oh yeah, this was the month I was working on that piece or whatever. So, and then back here, okay, if I'm being honest, I don't usually fill these out. Not because I don't think it's a good idea. I do think it's a good idea. How do I say this? Because sometimes, like, you're dealing with little kids, really little kids with this, and sometimes if you're being super honest, you'd have to give a lot of bad marks on here. So a lot of times I just don't bring it up. I just don't do it. Because, I don't know, sometimes it's like, she's doing fine, there's nothing wrong, but like, I don't know, her ear training isn't perfect, so I'd have to give her a needs work on there. And yeah, she doesn't always follow instructions because she's 4, so, but, you know, if it's a really good student, you can do that with them. I would only do it if it was going to be a positive thing, though. I wouldn't use it as like, I don't know, a way of beating them over the head, you know. And then this is just an extra page in the back where, like, if they're struggling with something, you could write notes down, or you could put more pictures from recitals, or whatever. And I kind of thought it was a neat thing. At the very beginning, they have you trace the hands and put finger numbers. So with my one student who just finished, we did that again on her last lesson. So we had, like, beginning lesson and ending lesson piano fingers, and it was so cute. So you could do something like that back here. And that is the assignment book. And then I don't know, we probably need to stop there for today, but we can go over the rest of them at a different time. Thumbs up for Miss Allyssa, who will be starting music for Little Mozart lessons for the first time this